Hey everyone, Mike Vogel here for WashingtonCaps.com, joined now by Peter Laviolette, the 19th coach in Washington Capitals history, named to the post just this morning. And Peter, congratulations, first of all, on the gig. And you've obviously coached against the Caps and Backstrom and Ovechkin for a long time, a number of years now. Just wondering what most excites you about this opportunity to coach this team?
There's lots of things that excite me about it. You're talking about some of the players right now and some of the top players in the game, and I think also Washington, the fact that they've been an elite team, one of the top tier teams in the league now for the past half dozen years. They're constantly finding a way to win in the regular season, get into the playoffs, Stanley Cup champion, and so there's a lot of real positive things about Washington, the fan base and the building and how loud it can get in there, and the city itself. Getting back to the East Coast for me, I'm an East Coast kid, and this is my first time in Nashville, moving to the West, so getting back to the East Coast. But just a great organization from ownership down, and really fortunate to be a part of it.
How would you characterize yourself or describe yourself as a head coach in the NHL?
I think that there's a line that you have to be tough, but you also have to be compassionate to the players, and you got to work to build the inside of the room and build that family, build that culture inside the room on what to expect from each other on a daily basis, and to set that standard of how you're going to practice and how you're going to play and what you expect from yourself as a group every day. And I think that there's a time where you have to lean on them a little bit. And then there's also times where, you have to be compassionate and get to know your players. So for me, it's all about a balance of both. I'm a pretty honest person. So what I see is usually how I react. And I think it served me well to this point, and I don't see myself changing from that.
When this vacancy became open just a little over 3 weeks ago, Brian McClellan talked to the media, and he noted a number of things. Number one, he said that team culture had slipped a little bit recently. Said that he was disappointed in the team structure during its time in the bubble in Toronto. Said he was looking for a guy who could push some buttons of some pretty good players. And when I talked to Brian earlier this morning, he mentioned that you were the guy who checked all those boxes. What do you believe it is about your style that allows you to check those boxes?
I can't listen. When I've seen Washington play in the last, like I said, half dozen years, they've been a great team, and I think there's always some ups and downs. And Todd, I think, did a really good job with this team. And so, as I learned from Nashville, sometimes you just move on and you go in different directions. And I'm fortunate to get a team that is I think ready to move up and be pushed and make a difference. So, I think for me, when it comes to pushing those buttons, or if that's what it is, I believe all players want to do good things. I believe all teams want to do good things. My job, if I could add a layer, would be to help motivate them, help push them to do that, help bring them together to do that. And so, like I said, there's good pieces, great pieces already in place. I'm going to try and come in and do the best I can in a positive way to see if we can't go steps further at this point.
You had a playing career that lasted about a decade or so, got a dozen games in the NHL. You represented your country in the Olympics. I'm sure you would have liked to have played longer, but at what point during your playing career did coaching seem to you as a viable post-playing career, and how did it progress from there? Did you have any mentors that helped you along the way? Significant ones.
My 12 games in the NHL were awesome. So it was short, but nothing. Ever since I graduated college, nothing really for me has been planned. There was never a course set where I knew exactly where my path was going to take me. I still pinch myself a little bit, thinking that I can wake up every day and be part of the greatest game in the world, and so. I'm extremely fortunate for that. Coming from Westfield State and a Division III college to be coaching the Washington Capitals at this point in my life, I'm blessed with regard to that. So I don't ever take these opportunities lightly. There's been so many people that have had some sort of an influence on me. Never knew that I was going to become a coach. My career ended actually when I wanted it to end. I think maybe I could have played a few more years in the minors, and I'm just looking at the end of the road going, where are you going to go from here, and what are you going to do? And it was Bobby Francis in Providence who asked me if I wanted to be a player assistant coach, and that was my first foot in the door. So when the opportunity came to move down to the East Coast Hockey League and take my first job in Wheeling in the East Coast, we jumped on it. My wife and I, she was pregnant with our first, and he was born in Wheeling, West Virginia, and it's just been an incredible journey since then. So I'm just really fortunate for the people who have helped me in my life to this point, and then have people who have helped me along the way as well.
You've taken over a couple of teams during the offseason. You've taken over a couple of teams shortly after seasons have started. In this situation, obviously there's some offseason ahead of us. We don't know exactly how much, but what are the keys for you now that you got the keys to the car? What are the next few months going to be like for you between now and say the start of training camp?
Well, it's always, I'm going to be learning myself. I've been out of it since things shut down. I got, my duties in Nashville came to an end in January, and things really shut down after that. And so I've just been at home. And so I've got to learn a little bit myself about how things are working or going to work with regard to moving forward. I think really most important right now is that there's a lot of pieces in place that I just want to reach out to and just talk with. There's coaching staff that's in place, and players that are in place, and getting to know I think those people are really important right now. So I can utilize my time with regard to that. Just work on getting a game plan in order for whatever comes our way with regard to training camp, and making sure that we're prepared for game one of the start of the year.
You alluded to the job in Wheeling back in 1997, your first stop on the head coaching tour there. You got into the third round of the playoffs, and it really started a pattern that you've kind of held throughout your career, where early on you've made a significant impact on teams that you've taken over, probably most significantly almost doubling the Islanders' point total in your first season there. What is it, do you think, about your style or the way you operate that's enabled you to have that degree of success with virtually every team you've taken over?
Yeah, I mean, I think, when it comes to winning and when it comes to finding success on the ice, ultimately it comes down to the players. They're the ones that are out there that are either going to sink or swim with what they're doing. My job is to try and build that team, to push them to be great, push them to have fun, push them to care about each other, push them to play a game that is relentless and just never stops pursuing victory. And, so I think coming into new teams it's always exciting for me, because it's a clean slate and an opportunity to start over and start fresh. And that's what's, for me sitting here now, that's what's really exciting about taking over the Washington Capitals. They got a terrific team with some great pieces in place, and I'm looking forward to go in there and just add a layer of whatever I can do to try and help move steps up the ladder.
What do you feel like were the key adaptations that you and really any coach that's had the staying power that you've had have had to adapt to over the years?
Yeah,
to roll with those changes.
You're right. There's been a lot of change just in the game and the style. And I think back to taking over Wheeling and in my lack of knowledge and my lack of experience taking over a team like that. And really I think we relied on building that team inside the room, and with a team that is built inside of the room and that cares for each other and wants to play for each other, anything is possible out on the ice. But from a knowledge standpoint, I think that you're constantly learning. I made it a point to hire, some coaches that I didn't know and that were younger than me and maybe had different points in the game. And other coaches are really smart people. And if you're willing to keep your eyes open and listen and learn, there's a lot that you can take in.
Awesome. Thanks. Good to have you here, Peter. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. It's I'm really excited again to get down there, to get settled in, and to get in front of the great fans of Washington. So, like I said, it's a very exciting time for all of us.